I have a one-way physical link with my stoic roommate. When he eats, I feel full. When he showers, it feels like someone is touching me. When he takes care of his urges, I'm left biting my pillow, whimpering and trying not to make a sound. One day, I finally couldn't take it anymore. I gently suggested he practice some self-control. My stoic roommate slowly closed in on me. And what if I can't help it? I opened my eyes, my stomach feeling tight and bloated. I tried to roll over to get comfortable but let out a huge burp instead. Sleep was impossible now. All I could do was get out of bed with my round, full belly and walk it off. I must have looked like a pregnant lady on a stroll. This was a nightmare. Somehow I, a quiet little bottom, had developed a one-way physical link with my cold, straight roommate Felix. In just a few days, I was already on the verge of a breakdown. When he ate, I felt stuffed. There's a big size difference between us, so naturally, our appetites are worlds apart. But even if I felt full, I still had to eat. I wasn't getting enough nutrition and lost 5 pounds in a week. And sometimes, when he played basketball and collided with people, I'd be covered in bruises the next day. But the worst part was that every night when he showered, it felt like a pair of invisible hands were caressing me. My whole body would be covered in goosebumps. From head to toe, it was weird and mortifying. So while he was in the bathroom rinsing off, I had no choice but to curl up behind my bed curtain, breathing silently and gritting my teeth. I was terrified I'd get too into it and cry out. After a few days of this, just seeing him made me flinch. I was incredibly sensitive. I tried to talk to Felix about it several times. But how do you even bring something like this up? It sounds like paranormal nonsense. Do I gently ask him to eat less? To not shower? To stop working out? Impossible. And being direct was even more out of the question. I was afraid that if I mentioned the physical link, he wouldn't just not believe me, he'd call the psych ward. I felt even more hopeless. Whatever, I'll just have to endure it. As long as he doesn't get stabbed, everything else is a minor issue. I waddled around the dorm with my stomach sticking out, watching my other 2 roommates play video games. After a few laps, I realized my pajama pants were getting too tight. I instinctively pulled them down a bit, hiked up my shirt, and just let my stomach hang out. So much more comfortable without being constricted. Suddenly, the dorm room door creaked open. Felix was back. He froze when he saw me standing there with my bare stomach, his eyes seeming to sweep quickly over my exposed abdomen and waist. At the same time, I felt a heart begin to pound in my chest. It wasn't my heartbeat. It was Felix's. So weird. Ever since this link started, I could feel his heart race every time he saw me. Sometimes I wondered if he had an arrhythmia or some kind of heart condition. Or was I just that scary to look at? That couldn't be it. But even though his heart rate was off the charts, Felix's expression was as placid as ever. He looked away, nodded, and walked past me to his closet. He put down his bag, took off his shoes. With a flick of his hands, he pulled off his t-shirt. His muscles were still flushed from his workout, sharply defined and slick with a thin layer of sweat. The overhead light hit him just right, creating a powerful visual. Honestly, a guy like Felix is the holy grail for guys like me. Except he's extremely homophobic. He once beat up a guy who hit on him. To avoid getting beaten up myself, I've always kept my distance, acting like a typical straight guy. And he, the proud and aloof campus king, would never bother getting close to a nobody roommate like me anyway. So we maintained nothing more than a polite, roommate-level friendship. I just never expected this one-way physical link to completely mess me up. Now, Felix was undoubtedly heading for a shower. Not only did I have to endure the feeling of being stuffed, but I also had to bear that shameful sensitivity. It was the worst of both worlds. I felt a surge of resentment, my gaze turning into a puppy dog pout. Samuel, what's wrong? Maybe my staring was too obvious. The tall, handsome guy suddenly turned to look at me, his eyes dark. I immediately waved my hands in embarrassment. And nothing, I was just spacing out. You should go shower, the hot water is about to run out. Felix didn't press further. He just nodded and went into the bathroom. I patted my soft belly dejectedly and climbed back into bed to brace myself. A few moments later, It started, the familiar caress, the familiar thrilling touch. But today, Felix's shower seemed to be taking a long time. Usually, he's in and out in 10 minutes. It had to have been 15 already. Why wasn't he done? Any longer and his skin would peel off. Confused, I opened my bed curtain to peek out, but the next second, my knees went weak. I almost fell out of bed, because I could feel that my body was doing something strange. It was 11 o'clock at night in the dorm. I was curled up on my bed, drenched in sweat, desperately biting down on my pillowcase. Saliva seemed to be trickling down my cheek, but I couldn't be bothered to wipe it away. One hand was clapped helplessly over my eyes, the other gripping the bedsheet for dear life. I was covered in a fine sweat, my heart racing at double speed, the stimulation twice as intense. Felix seemed so ascetic and detached, but how could he be doing that in the dorm bathroom? It had been half an hour. Was there something wrong with him? I whimpered and cried, tears streaming down my face. I don't know how long it was before the feeling finally subsided. I spat out the pillowcase, taking huge, silent gulps of air. I heard Felix come out of the bathroom and chat with Mike about their game, his voice cool and clear. Everything was normal. He was acting as if he hadn't just done anything wrong at all. Great. The world where only I suffer is complete. I waited a bit, then sat up, planning to take a shower. I had to. My shirt and pants were soaked with sweat and sticking to me. It was disgusting. This was all Felix's fault. Muttering curses under my breath, I rolled over to get out of bed. Maybe it was because of what just happened, but my limbs felt like jelly. I missed a step on the ladder and started to fall. Oh, crap! But the next second, a pair of arms wrapped around my waist and caught me. The fresh scent of his body wash filled my nose. I looked back, startled, my tear-soaked eyes meeting Felix's. And then I saw his Adam's apple bob. His heart started racing again, pounding like a drum in my ears. On top of my own startled spike in heart rate, I could feel his too. Careful. Hold on tight next time, he said calmly, releasing his arm from my waist. Our roommate Mike, who was still gaming, turned around. Yeah, Samuel, you scared the crap out of me. Good thing Felix was there to catch you. It was pretty scary. It had even scared the campus king so much his heart was going haywire. I looked up at Felix, embarrassed. Thanks, Felix. Don't mention it. He paused, then asked, you gonna shower? Yeah. I awkwardly tugged at my pants, hoping he couldn't see the situation down there from this close. Okay, try to be quick. I might need to take another one. It's a little hot in here. Huh? My brain just short-circuited. It's barely 70 degrees today. How is it hot? That night, lying in bed, I was forced to soil my pants for a second time. My eyes were glazed over. Felix really lives up to his reputation as the #1 guy on every gay man's wish list at our university. His hardware isn't human. He's a specimen of male perfection. But as amazing as that is, I really wanted to strangle him. What kind of person does that twice in one night with no break? Ugh, isn't he worried about wearing himself out? Listening to the soft rustling of Felix climbing into bed, I closed my eyes, completely exhausted. I'm not showering again. I'll do it in the morning. If I'm dirty, I'm dirty. I'm totally drained and can't move a muscle. I have to say, my foresight turned out to be surprisingly on point. The next day, just as dawn was breaking, a whimper escaped my lips. It was shockingly loud in the quiet dorm. Even Mike's snoring paused for a moment. Before my brain could even process what was happening, my hands had already shoved my pillowcase into my mouth, desperately muffling any more incriminating sounds. Only then did Mike's snoring resume. Shaking, I pulled back my bed curtain and looked at Felix's empty bed and the closed, lit bathroom door. I was numb. Are all straight guys this virile? When Felix came out, he ran right into me standing outside the bathroom. Our eyes met. His expression was calm, with just a hint of pleasure in his eyes. Meanwhile, I stood there with a fresh pair of pants in my hand, red-faced, as if I was the one who'd done something wrong. I couldn't help but grind my teeth. I had to say something to him, otherwise he'd be fine, and I'd be the one needing to chug energy drinks just to function. Felix, I need to talk to you. He looked down at me, his dark eyes seeming to see right through my embarrassment. For some reason, the courage I had just built up vanished. I stammered, can I maybe what? It's no use. I couldn't say it. I didn't have the guts. My shoulders slumped and I looked down, defeated. Can you move? I really have to pee. Felix raised an eyebrow, clearly confused by my bizarre behavior. Okay. He stepped out of the bathroom. I started to go in, feeling dejected. Suddenly, a large hand grabbed my arm. I turned back, confused, and saw Felix staring intently at the collar of my pajamas, his tone unreadable. Samuel, are you dating someone? I was stunned for a second, wondering why he was suddenly asking me this, but I answered honestly. No, why? No reason. He said it was no reason, but Felix's face grew even darker. He didn't ask anything else and turned back to his closet. I could sense he was in a really bad mood, his profile grim. Wait, I didn't do anything to him, did I? Why is he suddenly mad? Did I scare him again? I scratched my nose, bewildered, and was about to close the door to shower. But then I happened to glance in the mirror and it all clicked. Oh, Felix must have misunderstood. He's tough and can take a lot, so when he showers, he's sometimes a little rough. I, on the other hand, can't handle that kind of force. Because every time, besides the weird pleasure, there was also a bit of pain. My body would be left with red marks from being squeezed and pinched, overlapping with the bruises from his basketball games. The overall picture, how do I put it? It looked like I'd been manhandled, both intimately and brutally. It was a little suggestive, a little R-rated. That's why I hadn't dared to wear short sleeves lately, even keeping myself bundled up in the dorm. Now that Felix had accidentally seen it, he probably thought that despite my mild-mannered appearance, I was secretly wild and reckless. Total freak. I sighed and took off my clothes to shower. Whatever. Let him misunderstand. As long as I can keep my sexuality a secret, everything else is a small price to pay. I can handle it. Ugh. But this physical link, when will it ever go away? It's not going to be there when he goes on a date with a girl, is it? I don't think I could handle a front row seat to that. When I came out of the shower, my mind heavy with worry, Felix was just about to leave. At this time, he was definitely going to the cafeteria for breakfast. Remembering the horrifyingly bloated feeling from last night, I quickly called out to him. Felix, are you going to the cafeteria? He glanced at me. Can I come with you? I forced a friendly, eager smile, terrified he'd say no. I had to go with him. I had to make him eat less today. Otherwise, during the 1,000-meter run for our fitness test this morning, not only would my heart rate go through the roof, but I would definitely throw up. I expected Felix to turn me down, but he just nodded. The tension in his brow seemed to loosen. It was as if he hadn't been scowling just moments before. Sure. I was a little surprised, but I nodded back with a grin. Could you wait for me for a sec? Yeah, go get changed. Okay. I scrambled back to my desk, threw on a hoodie, grabbed my bag, and trotted happily after Felix towards the cafeteria. My mind was racing, trying to figure out how to convince him to eat less without getting punched. I have to say, walking through campus with the school's heartthrob gets you an insane amount of stares. People would look at him, then their eyes would drift over to me. As someone who usually flies under the radar, it was making me sweat. I quietly took a couple of steps back to create some distance. But Felix stopped. He turned his head and looked at me calmly. Samuel, what's wrong? And nothing. Come here. His tone was quiet, but it made me feel like I couldn't disobey. I slowly shuffled over, and Felix reached out and pulled my hoodie up over my head. The hood was big, and it instantly blocked most of the stairs. There. Let's go. I paused. I have to admit, Felix was surprisingly thoughtful. If only he wasn't homophobic, maybe we could have been really good friends. As I thought this, I subtly moved a little closer to him. I didn't notice the slight curve of Felix's lips. The cafeteria was crowded in the morning. I deliberately only bought a single donut stick to save stomach space, while Felix got several large steamed buns and a big bowl of porridge. Seriously, if he ate all of that, my stomach wouldn't survive the morning. Seeing the small donut stick in my hand, Felix paused, his brow furrowing. Samuel, is that all you're eating? You out of money on your meal card? His question gave me an idea. Thinking fast, I put on a pathetic expression. Yeah, I'm running low, haven't had a chance to reload it. Felix, could you spare one of your buns? Felix nodded, his expression strangely gentle. Go ahead. Thanks. I gratefully took the bun and started nibbling on it slowly. It was a little shameless, but I had no choice. After a few bites, I looked up and saw him about to eat another big bun. Wait, Felix looked up at me. What is it? I forced a smile and stammered, could I have that bun too? I really like the beef ones. Felix raised an eyebrow, his eyes dark. I instantly tensed up. Oh no. Does he think I'm just trying to mess with him? Just when I thought he was going to say no, he handed me the bun. Sure. Eat up. I took it, blushing, and nibbled on one bun, then the other. I deliberately ate very slowly. Felix watched me with an unreadable expression for a moment, then prepared to drink his porridge. I swallowed the piece of bun in my mouth, occasionally glancing at his bowl. The moment he drank more than half of it, I'd find a way to stop him. My staring must have been too intense, because Felix had just taken one spoonful when he looked up, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Samuel, you want this too? I chewed on my bun and chuckled nervously. Can I? Sure. He pushed the bowl of porridge toward me, and just like that, his entire breakfast was now mine. He just watched me with a faint, unreadable smile. No matter how shameless I was, my toes were curling in my shoes from the sheer embarrassment. By the end of breakfast, Felix had only had a single sip of porridge. I had eaten half of everything, and my stomach was only half full. It was a bit much, but at least I didn't have that terrifyingly bloated feeling. I was in a pretty good mood. Felix seemed to be in a good mood too, not at all upset or annoyed that I'd stolen his breakfast. It made me reconsider his cold personality. He wasn't as icy as I thought. He was actually a really good guy. If someone tried to steal my breakfast like that, I'd have decked them. So, once this whole link thing is over, I'm definitely treating Felix to a huge meal to make it up to him. It would be nice if we could become friends. Anything more than that, I wouldn't dare to dream. After all, I was just secretly in love with him, and I could never let him know. When Felix and I got to our morning class, our roommate Mike was already there. I usually sit with him, while Felix sits alone in a corner, radiating a cool, solitary vibe. But even so, he was always the center of attention in the classroom. Today was no exception. He headed for his corner, and I went to find Mike. But next to Mike was a pretty, delicate-looking girl. Samuel, you're in a good mood today. How about I introduce you to someone? Mike grinned mischievously, and the girl next to him blushed. My heart sank. I had jokingly asked Mike to set me up with a girl before, just to maintain my straight guy cover. I never thought he'd actually do it. What would it even mean for a gay guy like me to date a girl? My head started to throb. Just as I was trying to figure out how to refuse, I heard Felix's voice call my name from behind me. Samuel. I turned around and saw Felix sitting not far away, his gaze so cold it was almost sharp. It sent a shiver down my spine. What's up? Come here for a second. I nodded obediently. Hey Mike. I'll be right back. Before Mike could say anything, I hurried over to Felix. Felix, did you need something? I'm a little hungry. Oh, what should we do? You ate my breakfast. What do you think we should do? The guy was resting his cheek on one hand, looking uncharacteristically lazy. I felt a pang of guilt and quickly suggested a solution. I can go get you a smoothie from the vending machine in the hall. Don't want one. A croissant? Don't want one. Then why did he call me over? Just as I was about to ask what he wanted to eat, the professor walked in. This professor was known as the Dragon Lady. The second she entered the classroom, no one dared to move or even look at their phone. She was ruthless with participation grades. She had a bunch of college students acting like scared high schoolers. So, I had no choice but to turn to Felix and whisper, Felix, can I sit with you for this class? I saw Felix's lips slowly, very slowly, curl into a slight smile. Sure, sit. I sat down gratefully. From a distance, Mike and the girl shot me a resentful look. I didn't dare to respond, just buried my head in my textbook and pretended to pay attention. Maybe it was because of last night's forced activity, but I was feeling really drained. Not long into the lecture, my eyelids felt heavy, and a wave of sleepiness washed over me. After fighting it for a little while, I slowly closed my eyes and couldn't help but rest my head on the desk, facing the cool, aloof guy next to me. My voice was quiet and hesitant. Felix. He glanced down at me, and for a second, I thought I saw a hint of gentleness in his expression. What is it? I'm gonna take a nap. If the professor looks this way, can you wake me up? Go to sleep. I slowly drifted off. Luckily, we were in a corner with a big guy sitting in front of us, so the professor couldn't really see what I was doing. The cuff of my sleeve was pressing a line into my cheek. Kind of hurt, but I was too tired to change positions and quickly fell asleep. In the haze of sleep, I felt someone cup my face. The person's palm was large and warm, and at the same time, my own palm felt unusually soft. When I woke up after class, Felix was already gone. I stared blankly at my own empty palm and my warm cheek, feeling dazed. Mike came over and patted my head, looking disappointed. Samuel, that girl was staring at the top of your head for the entire class. You didn't even glance back once. What, you weren't interested? I snapped out of it and said apologetically, "It's my fault. You don't have to introduce me to anyone anymore." Mike, I know you feel bad for me being alone, but seriously, you don't have to. I'm not looking to date anyone. Besides, I already like someone. Mike just grinned knowingly and didn't push it. All right, man. No more setups from me. Come on, our class has the fitness test now. Felix already took a bunch of the guys to the track to warm up. Okay. I rubbed my face and hurried after him to the track. Other majors were also doing their fitness tests. The 1,000-meter run was brutal. Guys were finishing red-faced and gasping for air. I suddenly stopped in my tracks, realizing something truly terrible. Running the 1,000-meter was already like dying a small death for me. If I had to feel Felix's exhaustion on top of my own, I might actually drop dead on the track today. My head was spinning. I rushed to find the gym teacher to say I wasn't feeling well and asked to take the test another time. But without a doctor's note, the teacher just shooed me away. To save time, he even made all the guys in our major run at once. Seeing Felix standing in the crowd, I gave myself a silent pep talk. Be strong. I have to be strong. Even if I have to crawl, I probably won't make it to the finish line. At this point, my legs were already trembling. If it comes to it, I'll just crawl. Maybe the teacher will take pity on me and pass me. Soon, the teacher blew the whistle and the guys shot off the starting line. The first lap was okay. I kept up with the main group and didn't feel too tired. After all, Felix plays basketball, so a 1,000-meter run is nothing to him. But by the second lap, the exhaustion from both of us started to merge. My vision went white, and I was drenched in sweat. My feet felt like they were filled with lead, and I fell far behind the others. Forget it. My life is more important. At least when I retake it, Felix won't be running, so I won't have the link. Just as I decided to give up and take the retest, someone appeared beside me. I looked up, panting, and saw it was Felix. There wasn't a single drop of sweat on his face. His breathing was just a tiny bit ragged. Samuel, give me your hand. Huh? Confused, I held out my hand, and he took it, and then he was pulling me along. The scenery and other students around us blurred into a retreating backdrop. I felt the double exhaustion and the double quick heartbeat. My eyes fixed blankly on Felix's profile. Are all straight guys such natural flirts? The good news: I passed the fitness test and I didn't puke. The bad news: I felt like my body was completely wrecked. Felix kept me walking, not letting me just lie down. I whimpered and begged him to let me stop, but he just refused with a cold expression. His eyes were glued to the bruises and red marks on my arms, which were visible since I'd rolled up my sleeves. His expression shifted several times. I wanted to explain, but I didn't know how. All I could do was swallow my frustration. This sucked. After walking for a while longer, my heart rate finally started to settle down. But my limbs were still weak. Felix suddenly scooped me up onto his back, his handsome face tense. I'll carry you back to the dorm. You need to rest. Before I could even react, he was already walking towards our dorm with me on his back. At 20, a guy's back and shoulders are already broad and strong. Probably from all the sports, his muscles were firm. Lying on his back, all I could feel was heat. It was enough to make a gay guy like me blush beet red, and I froze on his back, not daring to move. He didn't say a word the whole way, and I was too embarrassed to speak. The occasional stares from passing students made me feel even more awkward. When we got back to the dorm, he set me down on a chair. Thank you, Felix. Very cold, right? He probably still misunderstands me. I glumly bent down to untie my own shoelaces, but my arms were still trembling with exhaustion. TSK. Standing beside me, Felix suddenly clicked his tongue, a sound laced with frustration and helplessness. Sit up straight. Then, he knelt in front of me and started taking off my shoes. The gesture completely stunned me. I stared blankly at the guy who had already taken off one of my shoes, letting me have his breakfast, pulling me through the fitness test, carrying me back here. I could have explained all that as deep roommate friendship. But I'm pretty sure my shoes didn't smell great after that run. Yet Felix didn't even flinch before taking them off for me. Felix was being a little too nice. So nice that it left me flustered and made me like him even more. I never realized that beneath his cold exterior was such a gentle and considerate heart. Thinking about it, aside from being homophobic, he was perfect in every other way. Even when he thought I was some kind of wild party boy, he still gave me his breakfast and took off my shoes. For a moment, I had an impulse. I wanted to tell him about the physical link. He was smart, he would probably have a solution, and he wouldn't think it was just some paranormal nonsense. I looked straight at him and quietly tested the waters. Felix, I want to tell you something. Something really serious. What is it? He placed my shoe neatly to the side and looked up at me. I mustered my courage. Something a little crazy. About you and me. He raised an eyebrow slightly but didn't speak. He just looked at me, waiting for me to continue. I bit my lip. Have you noticed I've been a little weird lately? For example, I always have these strange bruises on my body. Felix's expression immediately soured again, turning downright grim. What does that have to do with me? I'm not the one doing it. You should be blaming the person responsible, not complaining to me. If you're tired, go rest. I don't want to hear it. He stood up impatiently, but I grabbed his wrist and said weakly, but you are the one doing it. Felix, you have to take responsibility. I could literally see the cracks forming on Felix's tense face. I told him everything about the physical link, from beginning to end. As I spoke, I carefully watched his expression, terrified he'd think I was crazy. Aside from a brief moment of surprise at the beginning, Felix remained remarkably calm. So you're saying when I eat, you feel full? That's why you took my breakfast? Yes. And when I play basketball and run into people, you get these bruises. And when I shower, it's like I'm touching you. Yes, that's right. Then when Felix cleared his throat, his voice a little hoarse. When I went to the bathroom these last couple of days, my ears turned red, and I stammered. I could feel that too. That's why I had to change my pants a few times. Now, it was the usually stoic, quiet guy's turn to have red ears. He pulled a chair over and sat next to me. When he looked up again, his expression was more serious. Have you told anyone else? No, just you. Okay. Have you actually confirmed this is real? I'm pretty sure it is, but I can't be 100% certain. If you don't believe me, we can test it now. I suggested we run an experiment. You could hit yourself and a red mark would appear in the same spot on my arm almost instantly. No, not that. Felix immediately refused, then said something shocking. Have you tested it with your lips? I froze. And my lips? Yeah. The lips are one of the most sensitive parts of the body. They have a lot of nerve endings and can feel the slightest touch and temperature change. The skin on the lips is also one of the thinnest, so it's more sensitive to external stimuli. As he spoke, his gaze fell on my mouth, and his look was so intense it felt like a physical touch. A gay guy like me couldn't handle such a direct and intimate suggestion. I could only mumble in response. So, are you going to kiss me? No. We'll do it another way. He lifted his hand and rested his fingers on his own lips. He traced them slowly, his knuckles long and elegant. But his dark eyes never left mine. Without being touched at all, my lips started to swell and turn red, like ripe berries being crushed by a large hand, staining it wet and red. My heart started racing again, so fast I couldn't tell if it was my heart or his. All I knew was that my vision was getting blurry. Then, Felix used the same hand that had just touched his own lips to wipe a tear from my face. The motion was so gentle. It gave me a strange feeling of being both toyed with and cherished. But his tone was rational, almost cruelly detached. You got so worked up you cried. You're about to drool. A small whimper escaped me. Sorry. Felix looked at me and gave a very faint smile. It's okay. The experiment is a success. It seems we really do have a physical link. Samuel, what a coincidence. A coincidence? I blinked, trying my best to calm down. So what do we do now? The simple. Until this link disappears, neither of us can date anyone. We have to be responsible for the other person. Right. I won't date anyone until you say it's okay. Felix paused, then continued, I'll be mindful of how much I eat. I'll eat less and I'll stop playing basketball. Felix's thoughtfulness and compromises made me feel a huge sense of relief. But there was still one important and embarrassing issue. Okay, but can you not do that in the bathroom? I'm seriously drained lately. I can't take it. Felix glanced up, his tone flat. I can't control that. Sorry. What does he mean he can't control it? Can't he just be celibate for a couple of days? Who is he so obsessed with that he's this worked up every day? I stared at Felix in disbelief, a sour, heavy feeling in my chest. All I could do was ask meekly, then could you try to have some self-control? Hearing this, Felix slowly leaned towards me and said something astonishing. And what if I can't help it? Will you help me? I recoiled in shock. Suddenly, he sounded like the shameless gay guy, and I was the homophobic straight one. Before I could even react, Felix straightened up, his expression as cool as ever. Just kidding. I'll try my best. After telling Felix about the link, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. He said he'd be considerate about everything, except for the one thing he couldn't control. I reluctantly agreed. After all, this was already so much better than before. As for a solution, he said he'd find an expert to look into it. Knowing his family was wealthy and influential, I wasn't too worried. Because of this, Felix and I grew miraculously closer. We went to class together, walked back to the dorm together, always in and out as a pair. Every night after his shower, he would immediately pull back my bed curtain, as if he deliberately wanted to see me crying from the sensations. He had a rare, mischievous streak. Did I use too much force today? Did it hurt? Only then would I dare to glare at him. He was definitely doing it on purpose. One time, our roommate Mike asked curiously, "When did you and Felix get so close?" I stammered, not knowing how to explain. He's a good guy, so naturally I want to hang out with him. Mike patted my shoulder, looking pleased. Yeah, Felix is a good dude. You're so introverted, sometimes it worries me. You should be bolder about making friends. I smiled at him gratefully. It was true. I was an introverted, withdrawn gay guy. My personality was mild, I rarely got angry, and I didn't have much of a presence. Like a timid little animal. In my last dorm, my roommates accidentally found out I was gay. They never said anything, but their actions made it clear they were excluding me. After moving into this dorm, I kept to myself to avoid being found out again. After all, being gay isn't accepted by most people. But my roommates here were all great. Mike was great, and Chun, who was rarely around, was great too. Especially Felix. He was the best now. I could actually call him my friend. I treasured this rare connection. Every time I thought about going to eat with him, I felt a secret joy. That's why I had to keep my sexuality completely under wraps. I just never thought my cover would be blown a couple of days later. The day I walked back into the dorm, I saw my old roommate sitting at Mike's computer. When he saw me, he froze, a flash of disgust in his eyes. Mike greeted me excitedly. "Samuel, your old roommate is here. Let's all go out for barbecue tonight." I forced a laugh and refused. "No thanks, you guys go." My old roommate snorted but didn't say anything. The atmosphere was tense, but sweet. Simple Mike was completely oblivious. I slowly took off my shoes and climbed into bed, silently praying my old roommate wouldn't say anything to Mike, and that he wouldn't run into Felix, who was 2 minutes behind me picking up a package. But of course, what you fear most is what happens. As Mike and my old roommate were leaving, Mike casually asked me, "Samuel, you want us to bring you back some barbecue?" "No thanks. Did you eat dinner yet? Isn't Felix usually with you these days? Where is he?" Mike fussed over me like a mother hen. That's when his friend, my old roommate, suddenly spoke up with a sneer. "Why are you bothering with him? Don't you know you're wasting your breath?" Behind my bed curtain, my breath hitched. Mike frowned. "What the hell are you talking about? If you want to eat, eat. If not, then don't. What's with the attitude?" My old roommate clearly hadn't expected Mike to stand up for me, so he just laid it all out. "My attitude? You're the one with a problem caring about a faggot like Samuel." He didn't lower his voice. It was loud and clear. The dorm fell silent. Mike was stunned. My old roommate looked triumphant, and I let out a silent sigh. Well, at least Felix didn't hear. I could probably get Mike to keep it a secret. But the next second, Felix appeared in the doorway holding a package. His face was blank, his jawline tight. "What did you just say?" And just like that, I was drenched in a cold sweat, my face pale. After Mike dragged my old roommate out of the dorm, yelling at him, I hid behind my bed curtain, not daring to move. I listened as Felix put the package on the floor, opened it, and threw away the trash. He went to the bathroom to wash his hands. Then I heard the rustle of him changing clothes. It was all no different from usual. The atmosphere was peaceful. But my unusually erratic heartbeat told me that Felix was an emotional wreck. His heart was pounding, wild and unsteady. I didn't know if it was from anger or from him trying to resist the urge to beat me to a pulp. A homophobe like him, physically linked to a gay guy, he must be disgusted to death. At least he doesn't know I like him. I might escape with my life. "Samuel, come down." Felix's voice suddenly cut through the silence. Sooner or later, I had to face it. I took a deep breath and slowly climbed down from my bed. I turned, about to offer to move out as soon as possible, but I saw Felix staring at me, his eyes burning. That look, how do I describe it? It wasn't like he was looking at something disgusting. It was more like the joy of someone who had just gotten something wonderful. I asked cautiously, "What is it?" Felix looked at me. "Sit. I'm going to tell you a story." This was not the direction I expected this to go. But I sat down, trembling. Felix got straight to the point. "There's someone I like. I've liked him since the moment I first saw him." As soon as he said that, my heart died. Is there anything worse than hearing your crush talk about their love at first sight story? It was like pouring salt on a wound. But he's a guy. In that instant, I felt like my brain had been kicked by a donkey. I was completely shaken. Felix liked guys. So his homophobia, was it just an act? I thought he disliked me or that he was straight, so I pretended to be straight too. I watched him laugh with other people, but I never dared to get close. I was afraid he'd find out about my dirty thoughts. Not only was he gay, but he had a secret crush. The jealousy in my heart was bubbling over. But a few days ago, he told me that he and I developed a physical link. Huh? What did he say? A physical link? I was stunned. He probably wasn't physically linked with anyone else, right? In that moment, I was so happy. I felt like it must be a gift from the heavens, a reward for my feelings. And just now, the heavens gave me a second gift. The person I love also likes guys. After saying all this, he stretched out his long leg. He hooked my chair and pulled it forcefully toward him, bringing me right in front of him. In his dark, clear eyes, I saw my own disbelieving reflection. Dazed, shocked, and overjoyed. I said softly, "Felix, so you like me?" "Yeah." "So when I felt your heart racing, it was because you liked me." He raised an eyebrow, his expression still cool but with an undercurrent of warmth. Was it often? I smiled. Very often. So often that I thought you had a heart condition or that I was just scaring you. That's pretty embarrassing. It's not embarrassing at all. I slowly raised my hand and hooked my fingers around his, which were resting on his thigh. I can feel that you're nervous right now and excited. Felix, I wish you could feel my heartbeat. He asked calmly, why? Because you'd find out that my heart beats just as fast for you. In the thick, charged atmosphere, Felix was silent for a long moment. He just stared at me, his gaze fixed. You said if we have a physical link, if we kissed, would your pleasure be doubled? Whoa, why did things suddenly speed up? Aren't we supposed to be in the sweet, innocent phase? I answered honestly, I think so. Then what if I were to, with you? He mumbled the last few words and I flushed crimson. I knew it. Deep down, he was a total rogue. When Mike rushed back into the dorm, looking anxious, I was lying on my bed, staring into space. Felix was in the bathroom washing clothes. Samuel, I gave that asshole a piece of my mind for running his mouth. Did Felix give you a hard time? I blinked. No. Then why are your eyes all red and your lips are swollen? Did he hit you? No, it's because what? Tell me. I've got your back. As I struggled to find an explanation, Felix walked out of the bathroom. He strolled past us nonchalantly and dropped a bombshell. It's because I'm his boyfriend. 5 seconds later, a piercing shriek echoed through the men's dorm. You two lovebirds. You better lock that down for life.